If you have been following this stream before, you will know that I am playing Ares magazine games. And one of the games that I had lying in my cupboard, but I hadn't really taken out and played yet, was the game that you see here on the screen. This is Harry Harrison's The Return of the Stainless Steel Rat, designed by Greg Costikyan in 1981. And it was published in the 10th issue of the Ares magazine, and the cover looks like this. So this is the magazine cover, and this is a game designed by Greg Costikyan, one of the legendary early game designers of his day. We've talked about his designs before, both his fantasy designs and his sci-fi designs. I even earlier on this stream played Citadel of Blood, which was inspired by an early game by Greg Costikyan. And Greg Costikyan is also very well known for writing the role-playing game system Paranoia that came out in the 80s, where you basically played as clones of the same robot or person in this sort of very satirical sci-fi universe. So he always loved the tongue-in-cheek stuff. So that's kind of where I haven't always seen eye to eye with Greg Costikyan's designs, just to put that out there. But I have always loved his inventiveness, and the Stainless Steel Rat is no exception. I don't really know how to describe this game. What we have in the Ares magazine, first of all, is that the Stainless Steel Rat is a character that was invented by a sci-fi author called Harry Harrison. And originally, the first story of the Stainless Steel Rat is from the 50s, I guess. And it's just a short story about this super criminal who is only a criminal because society has become so regulated that it's simply become too boring to be a ordinary stand-up citizen. So the only way that you can actually still be a living, breathing, feeling, thinking human being is by being outside the law. And it kind of calls to mind that old Bob Dylan idiom, to live outside the law, you must be honest. And this is exactly what Slippery Jim diGriz he is. So the Stainless Steel Rat is a stainless steel rat because, you know, in old houses, back in the day when houses were still made of wood, you would have all these rats and mice that was crawling around the scaffolding, and the houses would be full of them. But after everything into concrete and steel, we have far fewer rats in the buildings. I mean, there are plenty of rats still around. They're just kind of under the ground, or perhaps they're in our drainage system or something, but they're not really in the walls of the houses anymore. So a stainless steel rat is basically one of those very rare rats that are still left in this concrete and steel and glass futuristic fantasy that Harry Harrison created with this character. And of course, in the first story, big spoiler coming up, but hey, it's a short story and you should know it by now. Jim diGriz, the big criminal, is of course caught by the police, and he's asked to turn on his past and basically be allowed to do all this criminal stuff, but as a police agent. So he ends up working kind of on the side of the law, but always following his own path and always, you know, making a little money on the side and not strictly following rules. So he is a kind of a way that he can be redeemed as a, I guess, somewhat of a stand-up member of society. Yeah, it's kind of cringe, I know it. But nonetheless, that is the character. And I kind of like the idea, actually, that society is becoming so regulated and so controlled and surveyed and frankly boring, because I kind of feel that seeing the same signs today, that you just have to completely strike out in order to have a rich, fulfilling, and interesting life. You have to break the mold somehow. So I see the Stainless Steel Rat not so much as this criminal turned cop kind of guy, but more as a social rebel, a rebel against the strictures and norms of society. So that's how I'm going to play him tonight. And in this specific version we have here in the magazine, we have actually a story that was written by Harry Harrison for the game, I imagine. Let me just see if I can find it for you. Here we have it. Yeah. So this is the cover of the story, The Return of the Stainless Steel Rat. I mean, this was written then in 1981, and I imagine that the Stainless Steel Rat, I don't know if he was writing any Stainless Steel Rat stories anymore. I guess not, and that may be why it's called The Return of the Stainless Steel Rat. Anyway, it's a story about a space station or a satellite around a space station called Stanion 6 that has been usurped by this computer, this mad computer that has gone completely haywire and has just crashed a passenger ship into the side of the space station, killed a lot of people, among them the directors of the space station. So there's always really this kind of feeling that maybe it's not just random madness, maybe there is some method to this, and maybe it's not all the computer's design, maybe there are also actually people who are manipulating this computer behind it. And these are all aspects of the story that we're gonna try to unlock as we play the game, because we are gonna take on the role as Jim diGriz, and we are gonna enter into this space shuttle, and we're gonna slam up against the wall of the satellite, and we're gonna enter in through one of the airlocks, and we're gonna enter into this giant space station that you see on the map, this big circular thing. And each little space here is not so much a room as an area. And the different colors indicate which kind of areas, whether industrial areas or accommodation areas, or their access way, or their corridors. But so think of this like it's a giant sort of blinking, bleeping space station with relatively few people walking around, like 300 people aboard the space station. And a few of these people are key characters. So the moment that we enter the space station, we are in communication with them. And they are all people who have sort of high-ranking positions on the space station. So they are, of course, grateful for us trying to come to help them, to protect them against this computer that's gone haywire and that's not allowing anyone off the station or back into the station. At the same time, we also have a suspicion, and one of these 6 characters may have something to do with what is going on at the space station. And already now, perhaps you can sense the contours of a genre mix here. On the one hand, we have a pulpy sci-fi shoot 'em up battle against a crazy computer kind of scenario. And on the other hand, we have a more Sherlock Holmes light detective game going on. So this is both a pulp, explore the space station and dismantle the crazy computer, as well as it is a real deductive game. That we have to get clues and deduct who is the criminal. It's completely non-mechanical. We have to use our brains. Maybe it's very simple, or maybe it's very obscure. I have no idea. But there is an actual riddle to be solved, an actual mystery to be solved in this game in order to find out if anyone here has been tinkering with the computer and why they might have been tinkering with the computer. And our goal in the game is basically to get to the computer, which is over here. It's probably very difficult for you to see, but this square has a skull on it. And this is where the main computer hub is. So that's where we're gonna try to get and shut down the computer. And then we also have to pick up clues along the way so we can actually make an arrest if we manage to shut down the computer, if any of these people were involved. And if we guess wrong there, then of course we're also gonna lose all our fame for being such an ingenious and brilliant ex-criminal as we are. Now, there's so many things going on in this game, because not only are we moving through the space station and battling these things, but the game is not just a pulp action game and a deduction game, it is also a storytelling paragraph game. Meaning that the way that you navigate the space station is through paragraphs in a book. And you roll dice and random stuff happen, and a lot of the time, we may end up in conflict situations where we have to battle whatever crazy robots are running amok in this station, or perhaps even, I don't know, some of those human goons out here. If we start getting a hunch that someone's a bad guy, maybe we'll have a shootout in a corridor, who knows? But whenever that happens is when the whole center of the game board comes into effect. Because what you see in the center of the game board is a tactical map. So you can think of the space station around it as the big strategic overview map where you move around. We are placed up here at the very top of the map when we begin the game. And whenever we encounter something in one of these squares and we have to have a conflict situation, then we'll fight it out in here. And what you see at the center is Jim diGriz. And you can see he has his rear, his front, his left, and his right. And things can be, that is, on 4 different sides of him. And they can also be near, middle, or far. Plus they have facing, and they can shoot and do hand-to-hand combat. So there's a whole little tactical puzzle that plays out here every time there is a combat. And all the little chits you see on him, that's equipment I'm carrying. And I like that I'm already starting to say I, because I'm getting into the role of John diGriz here. So I am, for example, carrying a slug thrower in my hand right now. And I also have a case of cigars and a bottle of whiskey in my boots. And I have a laser monosword on my back. And I have like various little trinkets, some ammo, some grenades and stuff on me as well. And you basically have to shuffle these items around, so you always have the thing at hand that you really need. And that can sometimes be a problem if you're surprised in a situation, you're just standing there with a cigar in your hand, and suddenly you need your gun, but it's not there. So we're going to zoom in and out between these 2 different place situations, the strategic and the tactical. Over on the right, the female character you see here is actually the fiancée of Jim diGriz. It is only used if you play as with 2 players. Then one player is gonna play as her, and I should be better at remembering her name, so I'll just look up. She's called Angelina diGriz. It's actually his wife. They're more than just fiancés. So it's his wife. So you can also play as his wife. You can also play single player as his wife as you want. It's just a tactical map to have her battles there. And then you would have, of course, him and his wife would start in different places in the space station and move through it differently. But other than that, the game is completely the same. So I don't really see any big advantage to playing this as a 2-player game. I mean, I can definitely see 2 people playing this game together, controlling one character, but 2 people controlling each their own character, I think is just gonna slow things down a little too much. And also I think maybe the whole game system is not really strong enough to handle that, because it's a game system that is very bare bones. Like, imagine all this content that I'm describing to you, right? It's all contained within just this tiny little booklet that's stuck inside of a magazine. I mean, it's a magazine game. So, of course, it's limited how much unique content you can have for this game. So I think it's probably best to just play it with a single character, as I will be doing. Right. So, where to begin? I think that I have explained enough about sort of the general mechanics of the game, and the rest you will learn as we go along. The rules are not super complex, but as always in these games, there are little odds and ends that you may miss. And I think, the one thing that I want to say before we start, because this is, of course, the most important of all, and that is the suspension of disbelief track. Up here in the top right corner, you'll see Jim's suspension of disbelief track. Now, the idea is that what you are playing here is a game someone is sitting at home reading as a book, a sci-fi novel. And the reader is only going to accept so much nonsense from the author. So every time something untoward happens that we kind of want to fix, we can do it by suspend the reader's disbelief. But if we suspend the reader's disbelief too much, he's just gonna throw the book into a corner and abandon it and go for a walk instead and never finish it. And we don't want that to happen. So already when the game begins, you equip your character. And I have equipped my character with these different items. And every item you pick has a suspension of disbelief value. So the stronger an item you have, the less, believable is it that Jim diGriz would actually have taken that exact item with him on this mission. So that already increases your suspension of disbelief track. And as you will see later, we can also use the suspension of disbelief to dodge bullets and things, and to find clues. But we'll have to manage a balance. We're right now at 22 in suspension of disbelief. If we ever get to 75, we're done for. Or I think we have to go past 75. But anyway, if we get past 75, then the reader is not going to bother with us anymore. And our story will never be finished. Perhaps it's even the author writing it who gets sick of his own stupid inventions. So, again, as I said before, this is a trademark Greg Costikyan design, this tongue-in-cheek feature, but I actually really like this one, that your save points in the game, so to speak, the way you can overcome difficult situation is by taxing the belief of the supposed reader of the story that you are creating by playing the game. It's convoluted, it's rare, and it's also great. I like it. With that said, I think we're about ready to breach through the hull of this space station and enter into the first room or section or whatever those square represents. I am gonna take it slowly and quietly here in the beginning, and then you will learn the steps that you have to go through as you move around the map and what can happen. And then maybe a little later, I'll start playing a little more quickly, so we hopefully can see more of the game and perhaps also actually reach an ending. I don't, again, as always with these games, I have no idea how long they might go on. But I guess, I think bad things can happen. I noticed, for example, that I have a vacuum suit, and I wonder what happens if I lose that. Anyway, we have entered Stallion 6, and we've entered right into a green space, which is accommodation quarters. And as we come into the accommodation quarters, we just notice that everything is silent. There is no trace of life anywhere. There's just these long, brightly lit corridors, perhaps a little too brightly lit, almost like jarring in our eyes. And we open a few doors here or there, knock on some doors, call out some names, try to see if anyone's around, but no one's answering. It basically just looked like someone left in a hurry, but in this weird way where it's like the entire apartment block just left and nobody really bothered to lock their doors behind them. So what the hell is going on here? Now, there are different paths that we can move through this space station. And as you can see, the map is impossibly huge. And I think it's only impossibly huge because they wanted it to be symmetrical, or because they just blew a fuse, or they thought they were going to make an expansion. But as I see it, any other route through this game board than trying to get as fast as possible to the computer, it just seems like nonsensical. Like you'll never get to the computer if you have to traverse the entire map. But again, it may also be from a different time and age where people would happily spend 12 hours playing this game. I don't know. But I'm gonna try to make it a little more of a fast, sneaky mission. I'll also say that the short story by Harry Harrison in the book, in the magazine, it basically describes a playthrough of the game. And in that playthrough, Jim diGriz, he goes straight to the computer through an elevator shaft, using his magnetic boots and his cutting laser and I know not what. So I'm going to follow Harry Harrison's clue here and just go as straight as possible to the source of this evil that's overtaken Stallion 6. So we're gonna move through a door. You probably can't see, but some of these hexes are connected with door openings and some of them are not. We do have a cutting laser, so we can actually cut through walls if need be. But there's a door, so, you know, let's not make a mess, and let's just go through this door in here into a yellow square, which is an industrial space. So we move maybe from an apartment block to a kind of workspace. And then we have to check to see if we can get through the door. And this is one of those games where every time you move between spaces, you have to check to see if the door is open. And again, they don't make games like that anymore, but here it is. And I'm gonna roll my 2 dice, and it's 2 6-sided dice, and 1 die, the white one will be the tens, and the black die will be the digits. So here, 3 white, 2 black means 32. Then I take the booklet, and here at the end you'll see there are all these paragraphs written in tiny, tiny font. And I'm gonna strain my old eyes to try to see if I can make sense of what this says. So 32 door says the door is locked. What a start. We just arrived in the apartment block, and I just want to go to check out the space where they're working. Some factory hall perhaps next door, but it's locked. I'm already starting to get suspicious. And I'm also thinking, I didn't bring any lockpicks, but I did bring my trusted cutting laser. And I said it already, I'm gonna make a beeline for that amok running computer. So I'm gonna take my cutting laser and I'm gonna equip it in my hand, and I'm gonna put my slug thrower down here, just put it in my belt. And then I'm gonna try to cut open this door. And when I use the cutting laser, I roll the 2 dice and I just read the combined result of them. So a 1 and a 6 is 7. So I go to paragraph 7, and it says that we succeed in making a breach. So the cutting laser basically just cuts through this locked door like butter. It melts away on both sides. We step over the debris and into the industrial hall. Let's see where we are. Now we're doing our first exploration of a room. The exploration works in a sense like opening a door. We again roll 2 dice. One is the tens, another is the digits. And then we cross-reference that with the type of space that we're in. So now we're in an industrial space, and I roll 24. So I look at paragraph 24 under industrial, and that tells the story. And this is basically the core loop of playing the game, is moving around like this and reading paragraphs, seeing what happens, and then sometimes ending up in combats. Let's see if that happens now or something else. So we have entered into what appears to be a machine shop. I knew it. It's the workplace for the people in the apartments. We may pick up a cutting laser, insulated gloves, and or a lockpick if you wish. Oh, so these people just left a lot of equipment behind. Perhaps that's why they locked the door, to make sure that nobody else stole them. Or perhaps to make sure that the computer somehow couldn't use it against them. Or did the computer lock the door to keep the people from getting into the workstation and actually perhaps doing something that could go against the computer's wishes? And what are the computer's wishes? So many questions this early in the return of the stainless steel rat. Now, I already have a cutting laser, so I'm not going to pick up another one because, again, suspension of disbelief. I mean, it's just ridiculous for me to run around with 2 cutting lasers. Another problem is that I already have full equipment, so I can add more equipment that is basically carry equipment that I cannot realistically carry. It does increase the suspension of disbelief by 5 because I become too much of a Swiss Army knife character, but those gloves. I'm kind of... Oh, wait a sec. I already have gloves. Well, then it's just the lockpick. Do I want a lockpick? I don't know. It's a lot of suspension of disbelief to run around with a lockpick, and we just saw that the cutting laser works just fine. And you know, also, I'm not necessarily into stealing people's machine tools. I mean, these people got to get back to work, and I'm getting 2 million credit. Did I mention that? I'm getting 2 million credit for doing this job. And I'm going to be paid by the people who are basically insured the entire satellite. So they are very, very interested in this problem being fixed, which is why I could set such a high bar. So I'm getting paid through the nose for this. It's going to be my retirement bonus, but it's probably also the most dangerous job I ever embarked on. Swordvander says, consider my disbelief suspension raised. Yeah, I will. There's a lot of suspension of disbelief in this game, but at least mechanically, we still believe it. We still believe this character. So, what was it that raised your suspension of disbelief, I wonder? Was it because I didn't take the lockpick? No, it cannot possibly be. Anyway, I'm gonna stride through the machine hall, and then I'm just gonna go down here. By the way, I think I didn't explain that properly. The satellite here, or the space station, consists of 3 rings, 3 concentric rings. And the inner ring here is closest to the center of gravity. So up is really towards the center, and down is out towards the rim. And you can only travel between the different decks, as each of the concentric rings are called, by using the access ways, which are these purple squares. They have a kind of access way elevators where you can travel down to the other decks. So my plan right now is basically to move around here. I couldn't go straight down from where I entered because there was a wall, but to move round through the machine shop, through the corridor, and into the access way, and try to get down to the B deck, which is the deck where the computer is located. So just to let you know that is what I'm going for now. I am now entering the corridor. And first, of course, I try the door. And the door... Breathless excitement. The door opens. Yes, a success. I stride boldly through the door. I raised my cutting laser, and then the computer thought, I don't want to have another of my doors cut. And it just magically opened the doors in front of me. Now, let's see what's in this corridor. It's kind of more dimly lit than the accommodations that I was in before. I wonder why that is. Let's see. Well, there is no clue so far. The corridor is completely empty. I kind of look around. I kind of start thinking that maybe I should have brought a flashlight. But yeah, I think if I find a flashlight somewhere, I'm probably gonna pick it up, because these sort of dimly lit corridors. Now this one was empty, but it's kind of empty in this ominous way where, you know, that as soon as you turn the next corner, someone's gonna be there. So I'm not really trusting this corridor. So let's try to get into the access way so we can get on this elevator and go further down. And then when we get down to the B deck, I'm also gonna start looking for some clues. Because if I'm not finding any clues by just moving around at more or less random as I'm doing now, I am just gonna have you suspend your disbelief a little more, and then I'm gonna just stumble upon clues. And that is a game mechanic. That is not just me, even though I would happily do it without the mechanic. So let's see if the door into the access way opens. I keep rolling 34 for some reason. Okay. The access way is an elevator. You press the button and the door opens. Inside is one hired gun. Proceed to combat. You may not buck out. So I may not bug out, meaning that normally when you enter a room, if you feel that it is too dangerous for you, you can bug out and just move back in the room from which you came. I can't remember if that suspends disbelief. I guess it should, but I can't bug out of this one. Anyway, it's a hired gun, and he is near, front, inward. That tells me how to place this hired gun. Now first, I'm going to find the hired gun. The hired gun is here. It's a robot. You can see it. Also, notice this weird elongated design of the pieces. That's also very unusual, I think. And the robot here has some stats. It has an alertness to the left and a combat strength to the right. And it also has a gun, which is in the center. And I have to place it near, forward, inward, near, front, inward. So that means it is near me, so it's closest to me as it can be. And it is at my front, so it's right in my face. And it's also facing towards me. So we basically just stare each other in the face, and yeah, then we take it from there, and we check now to see who is the most alert, and the most alert person has the initiative and can act first. Now, this hired gun that was hiding in the elevator, and where was it going? I have this feeling that maybe it was in the workshop. Maybe it closed the door when it heard me rummaging around up here in the living quarters, and it closed that door. It went through the corridor, and it's actually on the way down to the B deck, which is, of course, the danger deck, because that's where the computer is. But I'm here with it now, and I'm going to do my best to take it out. It has an alertness of 8, and I have an alertness of 9. So I get to act first. Now, we are standing face to face. And what I can do is I can make one move and I can make one attack. A move can either be that I move backwards, away from the person in front of me, or that I turn 90 degrees left or right, which would cause this character to scoot around here. So you can already now imagine that if you have multiple characters coming from different sides, you get to sort of turn around and change your perspective and try to fight them all coming from different directions. So it can be sort of this really tense little tactical combat. But it's this whole weird little system, which it's kind of a game inside a game. And it's just right here, smack bang in the middle of the map. So as you're probably starting to notice, this is such a weird mix of different mechanics and ideas that's just all been thrown together. No editor was present in the room. Everything was allowed. And that is why this game is so outrageous and, unique in both, I guess, the best and the worst sense of the word. But there's really something here that no other game has. So the thing is, I have a cutting laser in my hand, right? It's kind of a crabby weapon because this hired gun, he is super strong. So I think I'm in trouble. So what I am gonna do is that, I think I'm in trouble. Should I move away? If I try to back away, I can see that he has a laser rifle. And then he'll start firing that. So it's either that, or I take my chances in hand-to-hand combat. And I think that's what I'm going to have to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to swap my cutting laser for my monosword. So now I wield my monosword instead, and I'm just going to stand my ground. So the doors slide open, there's a robot with a gun pointed right at me, but cool as ice. I just put down my cutting laser, hang it in my belt, and I draw my big-ass mono laser sword and get into the fighting position. And then it comes at me, because I spent my whole turn rearranging my equipment. And now the hired gun attacks me. It has an attack rating of 9. I have a attack rating of 10 because I'm wielding the monosword. So it has a -1, and it just throws a single die, and I look at a table. It's a tables game. It's a 5. So it manages to stun me. Now, stunning me is bad news because it means that my alertness go down. Basically, it hits me over the head with the butt of its gun, and my alertness go down to 8, and I also become, I cannot do anything for the next round. So my counter to this can be to spend 2 suspension of disbelief not to be hit on the head by this robot and lose the alertness, or I can take it on the chin and move on. I think it's good for the story that I take a little bit of a beating in the beginning, just to show you, the reader, that I am not invincible. Hopefully that will help you stay with me a little longer. See, I can actually be hurt. So I get a little bit of concussion, which is bad because it means I cannot strike back, and I have to spend my entire turn just shaking my head and getting my senses back. And then immediately the robot is gonna attack me again. And with a I'm not stunned anymore. It attacks me again, and again it stuns me. This time I cannot be beaten twice by this robot. It becomes too ridiculous. So even though I was concussed and it seemed like it had a completely clear avenue of just hitting me over the head again with the butt of its gun, somehow I managed to just duck back with a sudden clarity in my eyes, and the gun just swings right past my face. I know it's gonna cost me 2 suspension of disbelief, so we're now at 24. And then I hit back at the robot. And I unfortunately make a mess of it, and I just swing my sword around in empty air, not hitting anything. So maybe I am still a little bit dazed from that attack before, and now the robot strikes back at me. And this time the robot misses, which gives me a chance perhaps to do some real damage. So I go in with my monosword, I take aim, and I strike it again. And this time I manage to stun the robot. So we put a stun marker on the robot, and it just sits there, and it means that it basically loses its turn and doesn't get a chance to strike back. Now, as you can see, these battles can, when creatures are evenly powered, can often become these sort of long, drawn-out affairs where people stun each other and nothing much happens. And it doesn't really make for necessarily very good dramatic storytelling. So instead of just standing here and slugging it out, I think we should try something a little different. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to back away from the robot. So it's just standing there dazed in the doors, and you can see sort of the sliding doors of the elevator sort of opening and closing back and forth, not really knowing which way to go with the robot standing there. And I take a step back, which means that the robot is now further away from me. The robot becomes unstunned meanwhile. I'm further away from me, and then I equip my slug thrower. That is my gun, because apparently I am crap with a monosword. So I have now equipped my slug thrower. Now this means that the robot actually goes towards me again while I'm again changing weapons, and it strikes at me. And this time it has a better chance to hit because I do not have a monosword to defend myself with. So maybe I just set myself up for trouble. Who knows? Oh yeah, I did. Oh, it's another stun. But, you know, I want to shoot this thing so bad that you'll just have to bear with me. I know it's kind of bad storytelling, but once again it swung at me and it just missed. So we're going to go up 2 in suspension of disbelief. And I'm immediately going to take a step back. I'm going to raise my gun, and I'm just going to rip through this robot, or so I hope. 11. There you have it, boys. I blow this robot to smithereens. It explodes all over the walls of the elevator, and there's just a little stump of its leg that's lying, blocking the elevator's doors from opening. So I just slowly walk towards the elevator. I step into it and just kick away the lower left leg of the robot. So finally, the elevator doors can close behind me and I can go down to deck B. So, yes. So we are now back here. Let's just have a bit of a recap. You've now actually seen, I think, you've seen all the core gameplay elements right now. How you move, how you explore, and how you have combat. All that has been, all those boxes have been checked now. And as far as the story goes, we are on the space station. We are working to try to shut down the computer. There are this group of 6 people who may be our friends, who may be our enemies, and we don't really know, but we have to figure out who of them might be responsible for this computer running amok at the moment. And I just want to briefly introduce you to these 6 characters, which always lurk somewhere in the background on the space station. So I'm going to show you their portraits, and I'm just going to say a sentence about each so you have some idea of the context that we're in. These are the characters. Yeah, there you have them. Woloski, Stark, Trina, Corona, Potts, and Rita. And again, this being a pulpy universe, these are kind of pulpy characters. As are we ourselves, Slippery Jim Degree. So, the people on the space station is, we have Commander Stark. I don't know, should I maybe put them out here? Yeah, you can't see them, but then I can see them myself at least. This Commander Stark, he is the assistant chief of security aboard the space station. They're all kind of assistant vice because all the heads of the station, they were killed when the computer refused to open the shuttle bay doors as the shuttle was approaching, and it just killed all the people inside the shuttle. Now, this, of course, already gives a motive to pretty much everybody on board because, yeah, now that the heads of the various functions are gone, some people are up for promotions. That is, if they survive the computer running amok. Next in line is Deputy Commander Trina, and she is the acting commander of the station. She's a tough-as-nails girl. She is also a look-good-at-all-times girl. So, you know, we're married, but we also got a good eye to Trina. But we also know that, you know, maybe she is in cahoots with the enemy. So, not to be trusted, but she's a strong power person, deputy commander here at the station. Then we have Potts, Dr. Potts. He is sort of this kind of awkward, nerdy guy. He's got a big beard and he talks a little bit too loud in a voice that's a little bit too squeaky. And he's the assistant science officer. And he originally trained as a geologist. I'm not sure what he's doing here at the satellite, but perhaps they are doing some experiments at the nearby planet or meteorite to dig for rocks or minerals or what do I know. Then we have Rita Mars. She is this young girl who works, she's a waitress who works at a restaurant called Mexican Mensch here on the station. And I'm not quite sure why she's part of the people that we have under suspicion. I don't know. She seems pretty innocent to be a waitress at the Mexican Mensch, but maybe we know something, or Jim diGriz knows something that I don't. So I'm gonna trust him on this one. Then we have Volosky. Volosky, he is a businessman, and he's also trapped on the station. Of course, he was supposed to shuttle off to another place, so he's really frustrated at being stuck here, or at least that's how he comes off. But he's also a little bit secretive, and he's not very good at explaining what his business is, or he doesn't want to explain what his business is. So something dubious there. And what's in that suitcase that he's locking around the whole time? And finally, Technician Corona, who is a tech, and she works in, I think Corona, I actually think it's a guy, if I remember correctly from the story. So Corona, yeah, he's just your classical tech guy, like overalls, greasy type of guy, with a lot of tools in his belt and can fix anything. But I guess he can also destroy anything. So those are the people, some commanders, a businessman, a scientist, a waitress, and a workman. And this, of course, also reminds me now of another game that was actually created by Phil Eklund's son, Matt Eklund, a game called Stationfall that came out a few years ago, which now that I'm playing Return of the Stainless Steel Rat, I can kind of see some inspiration there, for perhaps from this game running into Stationfall, which is also a game about various dubious characters trapped aboard a space station that is hurtling towards a planet and is soon to burn up in the atmosphere. And you're basically playing out the last few minutes aboard the space station before it burns up or whatever happens, trying to achieve your individual objectives. So yeah, that's just a side note. But Matt Eklund's Stationfall is they're clearly an echo, I think, of the Stainless Steel Rat in that. So now I'm gonna travel down to deck B. I do that automatically in my elevator and make my way towards the computer. So we have started infiltrating the space station. Stanyan 6, we are up here in an accessway. We just came down from deck C into deck B, and we're moving towards the computer, which is over here. I was actually considering putting out some kind of breadcrumbs so I could trace my path through the board. And I think I'm going to do that. I don't know, do these show up on screen? Yeah, I think they do. I'm going to put some crystals here, places where I went. I entered through the living quarters. I went into the machine hall, which was locked up and all the items was left there. Then I went through an empty corridor. And then I went into the elevator. I'm going to put a red crystal there because I had an encounter with a hired gun out to kill me. It was lurking there. It was waiting for me. And now I killed that. I went down with the elevator and I'm down on deck B and I'm ready to make a beeline for the computer. Let's see how this happens, what happens. I also notice here in deck B, there's a lot of accommodations here, all the green ones, but all the blue ones below it, those are service levels. And I guess that includes restaurants and bars and places like that. And I could do with a drink and a smoke and a bit of seedy conversation. So maybe I'm gonna hit down to see if any of those service places are open. Or maybe I'm misunderstanding service and it's just where you get your latest tech equipment greased up. Who knows? Anyway, let's get out of this elevator and into the corridor. And as always, the first question that you ask in Return of the Stainless Steel Rat is, does the door open? And the door opens. Thank you. So, no traps. We are in a corridor. And this corridor is, how does that look? Is it empty and dimly lit as the one on the upper floor? Or is it something different? Let's find out. it's empty. It's just empty. Again, it's so ominous. I mean, I imagine that this hired gun robot that went down with me, that was in the elevator, I mean, maybe I'm just following in its tracks. Maybe if I just move like it would have moved, I can kind of take its role. I can follow its sentry duty, and that may lead me straight to the main culprit. So I'm just going to go with my intuition here and try to follow the steps of this robot. And as I said before, now there is a service unit below me and there is another accommodation unit in here to the right. I kind of feel like I want to drink, but I also feel like I want to maybe discover something before I get a drink. So I think I'm going to go into one of those apartments building and just snoop around a little bit, see if I can dig up a clue. Like, what's really going on here? There must be someone around who I can talk to. So let's try to barge in, open the door, or let's knock. Let's knock. And then gently press down the handle, and the door is locked. Now, I know I could have, you know what? I could have picked up that lockpick up in the machine hall before, and I wouldn't now have to either not go into that apartment or very brutally take my cutting laser and cut a big fat hole through the door of that apartment. And you know what? I don't know. I don't feel like making that kind of entry right now. So I think I'm just gonna knock. No one answers. That's my cue. Let's go down and have a drink. So I'm gonna go down, or that's actually up, because up is towards the center and down is towards the perimeter. So I'm gonna go up on the higher floor, the third floor of this B deck, and hopefully the door up to there actually opens. This is always an important question in this game. It is also locked. I am surrounded by locked doors. And by the way, I need to put some locked doors markers out. Now, because of course there is a locked door marker in this game. So here we can clearly see that the door is locked. Now, you know, one thing is hiding in your apartment, not wanting to talk to me. Another thing is like locking the door into the whole bar and restaurant area, and me with a grumbling stomach and itching for a drink and a cigar. A cigar I have, but I want something to go with that cigar. So you know what? I'm gonna enter the bar, if that is what's on the other side, as non-discreetly as I always would. I take out my cutting laser and I just cut open that door. And what happens? I cut straight through the door, and in this sort of sea of billowing smoke and sparks flying all around me, I step into the service room. And now I'm getting excited to see what might be in here. Ooh, 21. What is that? I have entered what appears to be a communications room. I'm already disappointed. I thought you could get a drink here. It contains a number of hyperdetectors, an amalgamated journalist's interstellar ticker, and a Datalink console. What the hell? I don't understand any of the words I just read. Let me try again. It contains a number of hyperdetectors. Okay, hyperdetectors. An amalgamated journalist's interstellar ticker. I think amalgamated journalist is some kind of society or group. Interstellar ticker. Is this a clue? And what does it mean by ticker? If anyone knows what amalgamated journalist interstellar ticker is, please enlighten me. Otherwise, I will just throw it in the bin of technobabble. And finally, there's a Datalink console. See, that I understand. If you wish, you may continue to investigate the console. But of course. Now, I don't know my skills in hacking. I think I'm more of an analog kind of guy. But I guess I can press a few buttons and read a printout. I mean, what else could be in that database console? Maybe there's a clue. Okay. So now, as also happens in this game, here comes kind of the choose your own adventure element to the game. So now I'm being prompted to go to a different paragraph in the book if I want to investigate the console. So now I'm diving deeper into this branching narrative system of the game. Let's see what emerges. You access the personal records and may discover any one clue. Wow. However, yeah, okay, let's start with that. So I pull up a number of records on this computer and I discover something. And what I discover, there are basically 6 clues in the game. Now, there are also 6 villains in the game, and each villain has 6 clues associated with them, or 6 potential villains, I should say. So I have chosen 1 stack of clues, but there are 5 other stacks of clues, which means that the game does have a fair amount of replay value, I would say. You could definitely play it sometimes before you figured out all the different clues that leads to all the different characters. And it also means that whoever is the villain will change from game to game, but you will always have to deduce who the villain is. So I think that's an interesting mechanic, and it's just blows my mind that this mechanic too is integrated into this tiny little weird magazine games that is just bursting at its seams with content. So I can pick clue 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think I'm gonna just select random dumb luck, guide me. I roll a 5, and then I look at this clue chit, and you can see on the clue chit it has, oops, if I can make this camera, it has 6 different paragraphs written on it, and I have to choose always the 3rd paragraph, and that was randomized at the beginning of the game. If I had done another randomization at the beginning of the game, I would have to choose another paragraph. But I always have to choose the 3rd on these slips, so I can get a maximum of 6 clues throughout the game. And this clue is clue number 40. Let's see what it says. So searching through the console, I also have to remember what the console number is. That's 80, okay. What do I discover about who? Trina says she was with Stark. Now, Trina, she is the acting commander of the station. And she says that she was with Commander Stark, who is the assistant chief of security. So the question is, I guess, whether Stark can confirm that. And I guess we are talking about here the moment that the computer took over the space station and caused this horrible crash that lost many people their lives as it slammed into the bay doors of the shuttle station. But I'm just going to write here that we have a clue, number 5, and it says Trina says she was with Stark. But, I mean, we don't know that Stark is up to any good either. So, might there even be a conspiracy here? Trina says she was with Stark. And as I'm sitting there looking into the computer screen, pondering over this piece of information, it feels like it's not confirmed. So it's probably something that, it's not like a video surveillance clip that I'm finding. It's probably just some entry in a record where Trina has been questioned and has told the story of how when everything happened, she couldn't possibly have tampered with anything because she was actually with Stark. And that may also be an admission perhaps to a romantic affair between the security officer and and the second in charge of the station, which I feel already, it smells a little bit of a conspiracy to me. I mean, I can see this romantic power couple who wants to take over the station and each advance in their own careers. But maybe we need to talk to Stark to find out if he subscribes to the same story that Trina does. Now, as we're sitting there pondering this clue, we are, because we have activated this data link to log on, we have actually been notified, or we have been observed or make ourselves aware. So we basically put a huge, big target on our back. And because, we're not techies, we don't really get that we're just sitting here while all these robots are just honing in on us from all sides. So suddenly, when we look up, we find out that there are 4 hired guns in the room with us. And there's gonna be like a massive firefight, and the console will be destroyed during this fight. That's really all we know. But 4 hired guns. You saw how much difficulty I had with 1 hired gun before? 4 is gonna be really difficult. They're all rear, far, inward, meaning that they're coming from behind. And I notice them when they're furthest away, so I have some time to react, but it's still gonna be tough. Let's find 4 hired guns. There's 1. That's 2. 3 and 4. So the counters can sometimes be a little bit difficult to find because they're double-sided and they have different character types on different sides. So you have to flip them back and forth to find the right ones. They are coming from here, just completely closing in on me. 4 big bad guys. I am in trouble. Let's just acknowledge that. They have an alertness of 8, and I have an alertness of 8 as well. Now, since we have the same alertness, it means that we get to, or I get to act first. So what I'm gonna do is, of course, I'm gonna try to turn around so I can face them. And I'm gonna turn around to my left, which means that they will scoop to my right. So as I turn, instead of now being in the rear, they are now to my left. And then, after turning, I am gonna put my gun into my belt, and instead, I'm gonna take an explosive grenade in my hand. And I'm gonna put my finger through the ring at the top of the grenade. And then these hired guns, they march forward. Oh my God, I think I should have done something else, but who knows what I have time for. They march forward in unison and they raise their laser rifles and all of them shoot at me. This is gonna be horrible because laser rifles are extremely deadly. I'm just gonna shoot 4 times and tell you what happens. So the first shot goes off and it's a fire, it's a hit. And the second shot goes off and it's a hit. And the third shot and it's a hit. And the fourth shot and it's a hit. Okay, this is brutal. One of the shots only stuns me, but the 3 others actually wounds me. And to avoid all those shots, I would have to make some insane moves. I would basically have to spend 17 suspension of disbelief points. But if I don't do that, I'm gonna take 3 shots to my body. And I can have 6 wounds. And when you're wounded in the different body parts, you flip over these tokens, which then becomes these kind of wound tokens. And the problem with that is that if all the tokens flip to the wound side, then I'm gonna die. And if I have too many wounds, especially in my arms, it's gonna count against me when I try to fire my gun. So, yeah. Yeah. So I think that I'm gonna do the only thing that you can do in this kind of situation, which is this Pulp Fiction moment where you have 4 big metal guys with laser rifles just emptying their magazines towards me. And I just stand there and I'm ready to die. But as the smoke clears, I'm still standing and I look down at my own body and there's no holes in it. And I turn around and I see that the computer console behind me had just been completely ripped to pieces. Nothing's left of it. And then I pull out the splint of my grenade and I turn around and I throw it at these 4 guards. That, my dear friend, just cost me 17 disbelief points, which puts me up at from 26. What's that? 36, 43. Oh my goodness. No one's gonna believe this story. So we're already at 43 in suspension of disbelief. And as I said, 75 is the max. So we're already more than halfway through people finding this book too ridiculous. Let's hope that this grenade that I'm gonna throw now will help me recover from this. But first, I need to fully turn around, so I have these jokers to my front, and then I only have 1 grenade, and I'm just gonna lob it at them. And I'm gonna lob it, and since they're all in the same zone, they're all gonna be affected by it at the same time. So let's hope for the best here. I'm gonna roll for each of them, and there are 4 of them, and we'll see what it comes down to. So one of them is not affected by the grenade. Unfortunately, maybe one of the other guys stood in between. Another guy is not affected either. It's the guys on the sides that are not affected. The others, 1 robot is blown to pieces, and another is as well. So the grenade basically took care of 2 of the robots, and but the 2 others still remain, and they march straight towards me through the smoke. And, you know, they are a little bit scorched on the sides, and I can see sort of flames in the background and broken robot parts that have all been curled up and are smoldering on the floor, while these 2 large hired guns just move straight up at me and engage me. Now, the problem is I do not have anything to hand anymore. So they basically have a free beating at me. This could turn really, really ugly. Because I have a defense value only of 4, and they attack with 9, so they have a +5. This is brutal. Let's see what happens. Yeah, that's 2 hits. So they basically, with their big metal fists, they just punch me down into the floor, and I cannot really defend spending any more suspension of disbelief. I think I just have to take the damage. Again, also to balance the story out a little bit. So let's see where I'm hurt. It's basically my left leg and my right arm. So I get a huge gash in my left leg. It becomes wounded. And my right arm is hit so hard that I can hear the bones crack inside it, and suddenly it goes all weak on me, and I'm wounded in the arm. Now I just have to check exactly what that means, to be wounded in the arm, because I seem to remember that it's not good. Yeah. Oh, it's only when you use weapons. 1 arm -1, 2 arms -3. Okay, so I have a -1 every time I use a weapon because of my weak arm. So I'm just thrown up against the smoldering remains of the data console, and Um, I reach back for my sword, I guess. I pull it out and I put it in my hand, and it comes to light, this big red flame that just cuts through the smoke, like the sword that it is, burning bright in front of the robots. And for a moment, they step back and look at me, and then they clench their fist once again, and they go in. And let's see if I can parry any of this. I'm not sure. They're coming at me hard. I'm in deep shit. Okay. Yeah. One of them gets a stun in on me, but a stun in on me would mean that I'm out for one turn. So I'm just gonna, sorry guys, pretend it didn't happen. Suspend your disbelief a little more. I take it on the chin, but I just shake my head and I'm back in shape again before they even noticed it. And I cut at one of them with my mono sword. And it is a miss. I need to change tack. This is going bad. Okay. I miss. And they're over me again. Is this the end of it? It cannot be the end of it, right? It's another... One of them, again, hits me and stuns me, but we're in this sort of very cartoonish part of the battle where I get punched around, I get thrown against walls, and it looks like I must have broken every bone in my body, but for some reason I am still standing, which is also why the suspension of disbelief is now as 47. As I step back, I take a step back, trying to get towards the exit of the room, and then I exchange my sword for my good old slug thrower, because it seems that I'm a better shot than I am a sword fighter. Else that sword always kind of felt wrong with me. It didn't sit right. Oh my god, if I survive this, I really, really need a drink. Again, they go at me, and I have no more grenades, by the way, so I can't do that trick again. They come at me, and they attack, and one of them stuns me. I have to, again, do the cartoonish thing and suspend the disbelief, and then I have to step back so I come within shooting range of them, and then I'm gonna shoot one of them, and hopefully this slug thrower is gonna do some serious damage, and it does. One of them blows up. Like, look, this is the second time that I have used my slug thrower, and both of them has been instant hits, and I've blown up 2 hired guns. So, who was this character who decided I should have this kind of samurai laser sword on my back? It doesn't really... I want to get rid of it. I want to find something else. I think I'd rather do hand-to-hand combat with a cutting laser than that silly sword. Anyway, that was one hired gun down. Now the last one is left. He just looks at his friend that just exploded in a puff of smoke, and little pieces of metal are flying everywhere. I duck down behind the desk that had been in front of the console, and when I look up again and I look down, I see how the front of the desk that was stood on the side is just like all covered with these little pieces of metal that had flown into it. So it's like a giant porcupine of a table standing in front of me. And the hired gun reaches over and swings the butt of its laser rifle towards my face and misses. And now I take another step back, and with 2 hands, I aim my gun, and it's a hit. And the hired gun is gone. It crumbles in front of me, and I just stand there and I keep on pulling the trigger again and again and again. And it's only like some seconds later that I notice that all the gun is saying is click, 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 because I just ran out of ammo. Now, I do have an extra magazine with me, but I only got this one. So I'm gonna reload my gun, spending my ammo, and then I'm crossing my fingers that something good will come my way soon, because this was really, really bad. And all I got from it was really this hint that maybe the acting station commander has an affair with the deputy, with the vice security officer. Or maybe she's just using him to cover up her own activities. I have no idea, but if someone put a gun to my head now and asked me who the villain was, I would just have to say Trina, because I have no other idea. And the computer is still a long way away. I gotta go there quick, and I don't know, maybe I should also not move through these service areas. But then again, the apartment block above is locked. And the corridors, they will just take me up there. Maybe I can go through the corridors up there and down. Yeah, I think I'd imagine, restaurants and neon lights and music and bars and jacuzzis and gambling tables and dodgy characters smoking cigars in corners and none of that. Just a data console and some. But that's the thing. Like, I'm really not a techie, and of course they found me, because I didn't even know they were coming. I didn't know that by being on that console, I was attracting these goons. So now I'm getting a little bit scared of it. And should I back up through the corridor, or should I try to go into the service hall and then perhaps try to go up? Or perhaps go through 2 service halls and then go into another apartment? Hope that's open and then through the corridors? I think that. But this means that I have to go through 2 more service areas. And I don't know how that's going to fly. I mean, it's been super dangerous so far. It was so dangerous this time that I'm going to put a black stone here, because this was serious disaster. It was not just an incident. And then I'm going to go into the next service center. Huh. I hope you are following along back home on this adventure of Jim Degree. I must say that in the short story that comes with the game, it went a lot smoother. I read that short story thinking, this is going to be a breeze. I'm going to make a beeline for the computer. I'm going to switch it off. I'm going to point to someone, and it's going to be the villain, and I'm going to be off with my 2 million creds. But now I'm wondering, will I ever see that retirement bonus? I mean, perhaps these guys, is it all a setup? Is that why they went along with such an insane amount of money? I don't know. But, yeah. I have to get a move on. And yeah, as Swordvender says, brutal game. And of course, this is also something that shows that this is a game from '89. Back in the day when games were made to be hard, because you wanted to lose them over and over and over again, and then finally in the end win. A little bit like I said when we were discussing Space Hulk earlier, how the game is so unbalanced against the Marines. So when finally the Marines win, then it feels like an epic victory and not just a coin toss like in other games. But no more talking. Let's dust off all the debris and let's step into the second service room. 16. I'm beginning to dread these dice rolls, actually. I can feel this game is getting under my skin. The door opens wide. Okay. Hopefully that's a good sign. I mean, this room cannot also be full of hired guns. I mean, I must have killed everyone, right? 35. Okay. I have opened the door on a room that is crawling with insects. Oh my. I thought that there weren't any insects on space stations. But this room is crawling with them. Is this some kind of lab experiment gone wrong? I can leave, or I can enter. But look. I mean, I don't like box. I mean, I'm not in space to be near box. Then I would be in the jungle somewhere, looking for old ruins and temples and stuff. So I think that the Jim, he is averse to all these creeping, crawling little creatures that are on the floor everywhere. So, I mean, with me, with a dragging my leg behind me and my one arm hanging limb down my side, I don't even have the strength to brush them off. So I think I have to leave. So I'm basically gonna buck out of that room, and I'm gonna put another black stone here because this is a calamitous room full of horrible insects. I don't want to go in there again. And then I'm gonna back trace. I'm gonna just close the door on the insects, make sure that none of them get out. And I'm gonna back trace through the room with the data console with still these sort of twitching robot parts lying in the corners. And I'm gonna drag myself through that and back into the corridor and past the locked door of the apartment blocks. And then I'm gonna go up to this corridor up here. As you can see, I'm kind of trapped here. It's like a maze, and I haven't really figured out the layout of this. I'm spending so much time and energy moving back and forth between these rooms without really getting anywhere. But let's see if the door opens into this corridor. Hopefully it does. Because I need to get out and get some fresh air. The door is locked. Okay, but I have no more patience for locked doors. I'm gonna take my cutting laser to hand. I'm gonna put my gun in my belt. I'm gonna take my cutting laser. I'm gonna cut open that door. And it's a 9. And the door melts away in front of me. And I step into the corridor. And as you can see, I'm looking down a long 3-space corridor. So as I'm standing there with my cutting laser, I hold my breath for a minute and look around to see if there's any movement in the corridor. Oh my goodness. Guys. Who is sitting slumped up against the wall of the corridor? It is Rita. Rita, who... Oh my goodness, am I confusing someone here? I mean... No, Trina is the acting commander who says that she was with Stark. Rita is the young waitress, of course. Oh my. So the young waitress Rita, she's right here. She is sitting slumped up against the wall in this corridor. She's unconscious. And in front of her, there is an open compartment that is labeled emergency station. If I have the first aid kit or the pep pills, I can use them to wake her up. But I don't. But you know what, guys? If you're willing to suspend your disbelief a little bit, I do have in my boot a bottle of scotch. And Rita, being a waitress, I'm pretty sure that a stiff drink will wake her up. So I'm gonna suspend your disbelief a little bit. I'm gonna take it up to 51. Jesus. And then I'm gonna pour Rita a stiff drink of scotch. And I'm gonna basically pry open her mouth and just force the drink down her. And she's gonna come to in a coughing fit, spitting scotch everywhere in front of her. And let's see what happens when she wakes up. In front of a compartment labeled emergency station, 160. Rita opened the compartment and a knockout gas jetted from it. She volunteers a clue. She is willing to join you, but has no weapon. What? You can have people join you? What the what? Okay, I have a strong sense that Rita may be on my side. I mean, she opened this emergency station and a knockout gas took her out. I mean, why did she try to open the emergency station? I guess to try to act, to fix something. So I'm definitely going to take Rita on board. So I'm going to take her, and the people you have on board, they are always near. So they're always in the near spaces. So I'm just going to put her, I shouldn't put her in front of me. I can also equip her with a weapon. Maybe I'll give her the sword. Why not? Maybe she's better at using the sword than me. Yeah. I'm going to put her to my right side, facing outwards, with a sword, hoping that she'll come to my rescue when I can't rescue myself anymore. We got a partner, we got a friend, and she also gives me a clue. And this is the clue. Number 28. Ooh. The plot thickens. Rita agrees that she was in the restaurant with Stark. What is this? What's up with this Stark guy? Everyone says they were with Stark. So Rita, she says that when this thing all went down the drain, she was in the restaurant with Stark. Probably just serving him drinks like she does every evening after hours when he's done with his shift. She was in the restaurant with Stark. So right now, we have both Trina and Rita saying that they were with Stark. So one of them must be lying. And, I mean, as things are right now, I'm trusting Rita, because Rita is with me, by my side, with a laser sword. And Trina? Who knows what Trina is? But someone is lying. And it could be the woman who has my back. Oh my God, this is a conundrum. But it's also great. It is also great. I am gonna put a green token here because we got a friend, a companion. And basically all these colored crystals I'm putting out, tracking my way, is basically just for me to better remember the story and what happened where. It's not really part of the game at all. It's just my own little weird mnemonic system. But I kind of feel this is picking up, right? Everything was so dead and dismal and quiet when we entered, and then we came into B-Deck. Things got really, really bad, and I was in this really, really bad fight, and I'm still hurting from it. But we've also found Rita, and she's agreed to come along. We picked up a couple of clues. I feel that we just have to move towards the computer as fast as possible. And I know there's still a way to go, but looking at it, I think we've almost got around halfway, perhaps, to the computer, when you consider how many spaces we moved through. So I think we're making progress here. Oh, it has to be like this. No, it has to be like this. Yes. So let's continue down the corridor now with Rita. And the door. It opens. And it's another corridor, and hopefully nothing happens in this corridor. But we are also getting closer to the machine, so we shouldn't probably make our bets on it. It's a dark corridor. Again, I wish I brought that flashlight instead of that mono sword. But then again, if I hadn't brought the mono sword, Rita wouldn't have anything to fight with. So I guess it's all good. The corridor is dark. As you enter it, a laser is shot toward you. You may attack in response, shout, "Who's there?" Or use your flashlight, assuming that you have one, to see who is there. Okay. I mean, I've been shot at before, and I kind of feel if Rita, she was slumped over further down that corridor, I mean, it could, of course, be a robot moving towards her to try to pick her up. Or it could be, perhaps, one of the characters, one of the other persons aboard the space station, trying to help, or, God forbid, do away with Rita. But I think if I shoot and it ends up being one of our prime suspects, I'm gonna regret it. So, and I really don't want to get into any more firefights either. So I'm just gonna, you know, do the Jim Degree thing and say, just brush off that laser shot and say, "Who's there?" Apparently it didn't hit me. Who is there? 142. You're shot at again. Damn it! You're fighting one hired gun. The robot automatically has the fire being segment of the combat round and has the initiative. It's coming middle, front, inward. God damn! So it's right here. It's another of these hired guns. It's like all we meet are hired guns. And there's like at least, I don't know, 20 different characters in this game, and we only meet these goons, these generic goons that seem to be wandering the corridors down here. But again, it tells me that we really did save Rita, because he was just one corridor away from her. He would have gotten to her and he would have taken her out. And now we need to take him out. Trouble is, I'm equipped with a cutting laser, and he's coming in with his big bad fist. I need Rita's help soon. So he moves at me, or does he? Let me just check. So he stays and shoots, of course. So he just stays back and he shoots with his laser rifle. Straight at me. Oh my goodness. It's a stun, which means I'll be out for a turn. I think I'll just have to take that on the chin. So he shoots. He's shot at me 3 times now. And I'm just dodging back and forth. I don't have time for anything. So what happens next is that while I'm sort of dancing around to try to avoid that laser shot, Rita is... How does this work? Yeah, okay, so Rita moves out, so she's in the same range as him, and then next turn she can turn and attack him. So now we have like a battle between other characters out here on the map. I'm not quite sure how it works, but I'm sure we'll figure it out. Anyway, I'm just too dazed to really do anything other than I can move, but do I really want to do that? I don't think so. Or if anything, I want to move. Yeah, I think I'm just going to stay here, and I'm going to equip my gun, is what I'm going to do. Gonna equip my gun. Or I can't, because I'm, of course, dazed. So I'm just going to recover and become unstunned. And the hired gun gets another shot at me. This time, though, it actually hits again. No. Yeah. Ah, damn it. So I can see I could have this reflective armor. Ooh. I could also light a cigar. That makes it harder for lasers to hit me because of the smoke. But I don't know if I can be cool enough to do that, because right now I'm hit and I'm not going to suspend disbelief. I'm going to take a bullet. And that bullet, oh my goodness. Oh, yo, no. It was my right arm. I was already hit there. So instead, it's going to be my right leg. So now I'm hit in both of my legs and in my right arm. I'm in a really, really bad way. And as I'm sort of sliding down the wall with my back to the wall and just bleeding profusely out of the wound that was just cut through my right leg, Rita turns and attacks the hired gun in its side with a monosword. And let's hope that she gets some kind of bonus for attacking from the side. That would be great. No, unfortunately not. This is where the simulation ends and the game begins. There is no modifier for being attacked from the side unless it's the main character. So basically goons don't have to deal with all those details. I guess that's decent game design. Like, keep the nitty-gritty simulations detailed to the main character and not to all the secondary characters. Anyway, Rita swings that sword. Come on, girl. Gotta hit him. Yes. She slices him in two. Way to go. So she completely cuts up this hired gun. So again, imagine the scene. We're in this dark corridor. We've just woken Rita up after she was knocked out by this gas further down the corridor. And we're going through it. Suddenly, shots ring out. Laser beams are firing through the corridor. And I'm hit and I'm thrown up against the wall. And Rita just steps out of the shadows right next to that robot. And she slices him in two. And I know that she's my girl and she's on my team. And we're going to beat this together. And I've just pray to whatever I pray to that she's not the villain, or else I'll have to turn criminal again, because we're in cahoots now. There's no denying it. And I'm actually gonna go so far now to say, with her level of commitment, I'm gonna put her in front. I'm too wounded. I'm just gonna, you lead the way, Rita. You know the space station better than I do. Take the lead. And so she does. And on we wander. Here was another dramatic encounter. And we're now going into the final section of the corridor. And can we have an open door, or what happens? The door is locked again. I mean, clearly the computer is trying to block us. But I mean, I have the cutting laser. I didn't even have time to change weapon during this combat before. I mean, without Rita, let's be realistic. Without Rita, Jim diGriz would have been fried now. He would have been out of the picture and the story would have ended there. It would have been so sad. So let's take out that cutting laser. And an 11. Let's try to see if we can slice through some doors. I got a bad feeling, though. As you begin to cut, you note that the warranty on your laser runs out today. Oh no! The laser promptly fails. Remove it from play. No! No. God damn it. I mean, I know I should take care of these things. I should be more alert to all this tech around me, but I can't be bothered. Do these things really still run on batteries? That laser is dead. I can't cut any more doors. And we know that there is a laser cutter back up on deck C, but I can't go back there. If I go back up there, I'm toast. I'm never gonna make it up there or back again or anything. This is getting bad. We're spending everything we have here. We don't have a lot left. We don't have any grenade left, and our God damn it. We only have that one clip of ammo left, and now we don't even have a laser cutter. How are we gonna... Well, I'm gonna take my gun, and I'm gonna take my gloved fist, and I'm gonna knock so hard on that apartment door. And this is the same apartment block that was locked coming in from this side, but now we're coming up from here. So hopefully this other entrance into the same apartment block is unlocked. And I think this is probably where Rita, she actually lives. I mean, she, after the station failed, she was snooping around in her own neighborhood and went out and tried to open that emergency station compartment, only to be gassed and almost killed by the hired guns that came after her. Let's see what happens. We try the handle of the door. We knock and we pull down the handle and the door opens. That is very important. The door opens. So now finally, after this long circumspect traversing, we enter the same building that we were trying to get into, I don't know, 20 minutes ago. And in the meantime, we've been completely shot to pieces. We've also discovered a couple of clues, and we have a young waitress with a mono-sword locking around with us. She was pretty effective at slicing up butts. So maybe all's not lost, but there's better be something worth it in this apartment. Okay, come on. 54. You have entered the Morocco suite. Wow. It's an expensive place. Is this where Rita lives? Just a waitress? The entire floor is covered with a huge mattress, and the walls, ceilings, and chairs, beanbags, are all covered in red Morocco leather. This is seedy as hell. Rita? Are you double jobbing? What is this? Exoticized bullshit? I don't know. I mean, I think we should look for clues in here. There gotta be a clue to something. Who was in here? Is this where Trina and Stark met up? This room just reeks of somewhere. It's like wearing someone else's underwear. You don't want to be here. We're definitely going to go for a clue here. So bear with me. I know that it may not be so realistic that there actually was a clue, but we're going to find a clue anyway. So we're going to bump our suspension of disbelief up to 56. We're now just 19 points away, or in 20 more suspension of disbelief points. And this book is going to end itself. But let's see if we can solve the riddle, get to the computer and solve it. Get to the computer is going to be tough, but maybe we can at least die knowing who the perpetrator was. Let's try that clue. So I'm going to take this clue, and then I'm going to have a short break, and then I'm going to come back for the finale when me and Rita are going to take on whoever is responsible for this mess, and for now, practically almost killing me. But first, the clue. So we're going to take clue 1, which is number 18. Okay, let's see what it says. Corona says he saw Stark flirting with Rita in the restaurant. Okay. Corona says, and Corona he's the tech guy, the workman, the handyman. Corona says he saw Stark flirting with Rita in the restaurant. So, this warms the heart. This really warms the heart. Because what that means is that it confirms Rita's alibi. Because she said she was in the restaurant with Stark. And now Corona says that she was in the restaurant and she was fending off Stark's advances. And this does cast a bit of a shadow on Trina's statement that she was with Stark. Because clearly Stark was alone and not with Trina when he was trying to make advances on Rita. So right now, I would say that there is a red arrow pointing straight at this girl here. the acting director of the station, who is, of course, also the one who is ready, who stands to be promoted after all this. If we manage to shut down the computer and she gets away with it, if she indeed is the villain, I shouldn't jump to conclusion, but I feel like I almost am, then, well, she would get to be the new director of the space station. Huh. And this clue was in, so Corona, he was in here in this Moroccan suite. What was he hanging out here? I think all these people are seedy as hell. This is like one big red light district. So there may not be like a lot of official bars and brothels and stuff, but there is a whole atmosphere. I guess it's what happened when you kind of cramp, I don't know how many people into a space station, and they just live there completely away from everything. And in a sense, I guess it kind of feels also like a place where Jim diGriz is starting to think, is this maybe the place where I'm going to retire? Because it actually seems that it's a place where people, at least for all their faults, are not bored because they're not being regulated to death. Though the computer, of course, is trying to enforce all that regulation. And it may be that Trina, if she indeed is the woman behind this, that Trina represents that regulation of space station life that is basically gonna make this whole place as lifeless as anywhere else in the universe at this point where humankind have gone. So I'm beginning to see the contours of retirement with a beautiful waitress at my side, hanging around in this seedy space station come something else, and smoking cigars and maybe getting rid of that icy cold Trina and her plans for how to regulate the hell out of this whole station. Yeah, that's it. All right, as I said, this was the clue. I think that we now have a main suspect, and we also have a plan for our retirement. The only thing that stands between us and that is basically we have to survive, and we have to point the finger at the right villain. This has been a dramatic story so far. We have entered deep into the Stanion 6 space station. We have discovered vital clues that seems to point the finger at the acting commander of the space station as the person who set the computer to run amok and basically killed the actual head of the space station, possibly so she could get promoted to that position. And I think there is also some kind of a ménage à trois, because I think that Trina has an idea that she is gonna enjoy the spoils of victory with Stark, the security officer, because they've had a fling. And, you know, they met in various places throughout the space station, and had some casual sex. And Trina thinks that, you know, that Stark, he's gonna follow her into this. He's actually what made her believe in herself to the extent that she tries to pull this thing off. But Stark, he's in love with Rita, the young waitress from the restaurant, and he was kind of coming at her pretty hard the other day, and she had to fend him off. And basically, if Corona hadn't been there at the restaurant, seeing this whole incident and stepping in between Rita and Stark, who knows what might have happened. But I guess Stark learned his lesson, and now when he comes back to Trina with his tail between his legs, Trina doesn't want anything to do with him because he betrayed her. And if he doesn't want to share her future career as head of the space station and live this fancy jet set life that she has carved out for herself, or that she's hoping to carve out for herself, then it's his own fault, it's his loss, and he's definitely not going to be around. as a security officer for long if Trina, she gets into the hot seat of running the station. And I think that's where we are now. The other couple of characters left, I have no idea about them, but I think that is what's going on. That this power couple takeover of the space station was foiled by Starrick's desire for the young waitress at the Mexican men's restaurant. And now we've hooked up with Rita. And I mean, we haven't made any advances. But I'm not saying that we're not going to at some later point. But right now, it's about survival, about taking down the computer and taking out the villain. Let's see how far we can get. Let's move in for the kill. We start by moving into an industrial area, trying to sneak along the line of the top of the deck to get to the computer, which is over here. So we have to move fast now. We really have to move fast. Let's hope that this all goes well. Smooth. 11, well that's, I don't know. That may be ominous. The door is electrified. If we are not wearing gloves, oh my god, I have gloves, I just hadn't put them on because I'm walking around with my gun and I just grab the handle and the whole thing is electrified and I get a jolt of electricity through me. Luckily, it's just the shock of it and I let go of the handle and nothing happens. But I can't. What I can do, of course, is I can take on my gloves. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm shaking my hand. I'm putting my gun in my belt and I'm taking on my insulated gloves and I open the door and I go in to this industrial area. Wearing only gloves, so I'm happy to have Rita in front of me with the monosword raised because we may be needing it. What's in the industrial quarter? 66, that's the other extreme. I think none of these throws are really appealing to me. This could be bad or good, who knows. We have entered a body bank. The temperature is quite low. Along the walls are transparent tanks containing body parts and what seem to be whole humans immersed in solution. All are unconscious. What? Are they growing people here? Or is it just people who died at the station and they're keeping them in some kind of pristine condition? But it says all are unconscious, they're not dead. Oh my god, we can't really do anything, but I don't know, it seems like a place where there would be a clue. So I think we're gonna search through all these containers and see if we can discover something. That does take us up to 61. So we're nearing the 75 limit, but I mean, your disbelief is still suspended. So let's grab a clue, because maybe that'll be the nail in Trina's coffin. I'm gonna take clue number 6 and hope for the best. And it is 39. So what do we find as we look through all these body tanks? And I'm also wondering, is Rita recognizing anybody in these tanks? She is very afraid to look. Luckily, it's dimly lit, and she doesn't scrutinize any faces. If there are somebody here that she knows, she really doesn't want to find out. Volosky says he was with Dr. Potts. Now, this is completely different. So, Volosky, who is the handyman, he says he was with the doctor. And I don't know why. What is he doing snooping around these body banks? Who is he looking for in here? I mean, is he just fascinated? Is this a place where he goes to be reminded about death and meditate and or is this because of the situation that he's contemplating what might happen? Or is he thinking that maybe some of those unconscious people can be woken up and maybe assist in somehow helping the station out of this dire situation that it's in? I don't know, but when we confront him, he just immediately says he has nothing to do with it. He was with Dr. Potts. Dr. Potts can confirm that I was with him. I was not in the computer room. I was not. I mean, we don't have either Volosky or Potts in the radar, but yeah, kind of a strange fella. I don't think he means no harm, but kind of strange walking around here in the middle of an emergency. Let's get out of here and let's leave him to his ponderings. We march on. We open the next door, or we try to open the next door, and luckily it opens. I'm just gonna put a yellow one here because we got a clue. And by the way, we have 4 out of 6 clues now. I don't think we need any more, so I'm not gonna spend any more suspension of disbelief on that. I'm gonna reserve that for surviving whatever dangers we might get ourselves into, and I'm afraid that there's plenty of chance for dangers before we're at the computer, but let's see how far we go. Okay, the door opens, and where are we now? We're in a warehouse. We can try to pry open a crate. Oh, maybe we can find something, but maybe there are guards. But, man, I could really use some extra ammo or a better gun. I'm gonna try. I'm gonna pry open that crate. I mean, it could just be free gear lying around for us. As we pry open the crate, you jostle the plastic explosive it contains and break the airtight seal which prevents it from exploding. It explodes. Oh my goodness. And both me and Rita are potentially hit by this grenade because she's right next to me. First myself. Ooh. It's another wound. I can't spend the disbelief on it, I'm afraid. My left leg is already gone. Oops. Oh my god. Come on. Body. Ugh. My god. It just rips open the front of my body. I have metal stuck in my mitt. And my arm is limp and both my legs are dragging. I am bleeding out of my mouth. I don't know if I can do this. And I look at Rita. Rita? Are you okay? Rita is lying dead on the ground. The mono sword clasped tight in her hand. She died with that intention of defending me. And she died because of my greed, because I so desperately wanted just something to help me in this fight against the computer. And now my foolishness, my carelessness has killed the person that I envisioned having a future with. I'm out of my wits here. I don't know what to do. I'm going stark, raving mad. Rita has just died for nothing, and the future that looks so bright now looks so dire. I'm almost dead. I'm just crawling. If there's one last thing I can do here, it's to shut off that computer, or even rather find out who is behind this, who has inadvertently, through this weird chain of random events, caused that girl to die. Fired up by a feeling of revenge that almost unable to see from the blood that's running down my eyes, I stumble on, none the wiser. I pick up the sword and I put it back on my back like I had it before, and I take off my glove, I hold my slug thrower in my hand, and I just stumble forward with that gun. This is where Rita died. Oh my god. It needs a black. It needs a black. And I put Rita here. Ah. Man, this game. It just turned sad. I thought it might be like a sort of a midlife crisis turned into something good story that we were about to tell, or there was love on the horizon or something, but now it looks like completely pure self-destruction, because I don't think that Jim is gonna stop now. He's just gonna march on ahead, and if he takes a bullet, I don't think he cares anymore. He's just gonna walk. Damn it. Okay. He gotta get out of these industrial complexes. He moves down into the corridor below. Or he takes the door, he pulls down the handle and see if the door opens. It opens, and he steps in. The corridor is lit. You run into Trina. You may attack her or engage her in conversation. I want to do both. Trina is our prime suspect. Right now, I am so bereaved and angry that I hold Trina responsible for the death of Rita through my own carelessness. I feel like just putting a bullet through her head, because I think if I let her open her mouth, she might try to explain away things, and I might get, oh my God. But then I also need to know the truth. But what if I don't want to hear the truth? What if I don't want to hear the truth? Okay, this is a pivotal moment in the story. My beloved sidekick just died, and I'm now face to face with whom I believe to be the villain, because that's what the clue says. Do I just fire or do I talk? Am I not just too bereaved? I don't want to know the answer. I don't want to know the real story anymore. I just want to know, I want the story that I'm telling to be true, because if the story is any more complicated than what I'm making it out to be, then it's not going to finish before I'm finished. So you know what? I take my gun and I attack her. Wow. Okay, let's see how this goes. I can't believe I ran into Trina. This is insane. She's carrying a slug thrower. It's the exact same weapon that I have. We draw at the same time. She's front, middle, inward. She's in front of me. Oh my goodness. Okay, we're just standing there, staring at each other. And I mean, I've taken so many hits. By the way, all those hits I've taken, I think they have reduced my alertness probably to like 0. I don't think I have alertness anymore. Yeah, and my suit has malfunctioned. Yeah. My vacuum suit has malfunctioned. I don't think I'm going to get out of here alive. And my alertness is at 0. So I just stand there, and as I reach for my gun, I'm trying to be my old quick drawing self. But Trina, she just easily outdoes me. She takes up her gun and she shoots it at me. And she hits me. Yeah. But I'm going to suspend disbelief because I want the last grin here. So I'm now up to 66 in suspension of disbelief. 10 more, and yeah, I'm gone. So I could cut her down with a mono sword, but I'm not sure I have time. So I think I'm just gonna take a shot at her first. And I shoot, but I'm so dazed. My hands are flailing all over. The bullet just ricochets around the room. This is not working. And she just stands there. She still has me in her crosshairs. And she takes another shot at me, knowing that I cannot possibly dodge that many bullets. But she too misses, perhaps fazed by the fact that I wasn't hit the first time. She pulls again, and this time she actually misses. I'm seeing this is not working. So I kind of drop my gun and I pick up the sword, and it's still bloodied with the spray from Rita when that explosive tore her chest open. So I raise the mono sword covered in the blood of Rita. And as I raise it above my head, Trina releases yet another slug from her gun. And this time it hits me. And again, miraculously, I survive. But my suspension of disbelief is now at 71. The reader is seconds away from putting down this book. This is so ludicrous. Why do you set up an encounter with a supervillain, and then the supervillain has all the advantages, and somehow they're unable to hit at point blank range, and she's now fired 3 shots and none of them hit? Come on. But this is all I can do. So what I do with my last ditch effort is that I step up to her. So I'm now right in front of her. And that basically means that she has to attack me in the front. And let's see. She has her slug thrower. So she is at a -3. So her chance, she needs to roll a 6 on a die 6 to stun me. Let's see if she can do that. She cannot. So she hits out at me, but she misses. And now my sword comes down. The sword of vengeance comes down on Trina, who I have decided, by the way, is guilty. I don't actually know. And I stun her, so she staggers. And she just stands there staggering. And as she's staggering, wobbling from side to side, I hit her again. And this time, the sword goes straight through her body, slices her up, and cuts her in 2. Now, there is a rule in this game that I'm just remembering now at this inopportune moment, which is okay, if we killed, for every character that we kill, for every of the suspects that we kill, if they did not start the fight, you lose 5 suspension of disbelief. Because the reader thinks it's ridiculous that we just decided she was guilty without even bothering to check out the clues. So what is happening now is actually that the book ends. So we are ricocheted up to 76 suspension of disbelief points. So the story has now become so ridiculous that nobody wants to follow it anymore. And yeah, that's the Stainless Steel Rat. The Return of the Stainless Steel Rat, that's a full playthrough. That's a full story. That's everything you get. It's all this, and in a big jumble of madness and storytelling and tactical combat and weird random events that somehow make sense. This is the game. But before I start evaluating more on it, I want to spin this yarn, right? Because I think that I kind of disagree with the reader here. I get it that there was a lot of suspension. I get this gunfight in the end was kind of ridiculous. It's kind of ridiculous that she had to shoot us 3 times at point blank range and not hit. And we had all the time in the world to sort of very, very slowly draw our mono sword. And that ridiculous detail about it dripping with Rita's blood. And then we cut Trina in half. But the reader got so frustrated because the book had promised to be a proper detective novel. And we never found out if Trina was the culprit. We just decided she was. Maybe if the reader had read on, that would have been resolved. And right now I am in a position to actually check who the villain was in the story. But I kind of feel that would go against the story that I've been telling here, because the story is that Jim diGriz decided who the villain was. Because, you know, he's old in this business and also now apparently an arrogant prick. And to beat a hurt, vengeful, arrogant prick. I agree, you know, the clues were pointing in the direction of Trina. Her alibi did not hold water. She felt betrayed by Stark, and she was probably she'd probably just gone rogue, and I think she was ready to absolutely kill. And I'm also seeing that she is probably the one who made sure that Rita was knocked out by that gas in the corridor out of her jealousy, because Stark had been flirting with Rita, or more than that actually. He tried to force himself on her. So I think this was the story of how stories are made in the mind of Jim diGriz. And I think it's a great story. I would love to read more stories like that. It's the kind of the story that promises to be a detective story, but then it's not. And this is such a weird reference that comes into my mind, but in the Italian film director Antonioni's masterpiece L'Avventura from the 60s, that is kind of that. It's really a story about a guy whose girlfriend goes missing while they're out on a picnic at a rock somewhere in the Mediterranean, and she goes missing, and we don't know what's happened. And maybe she jumped off the rock, committed suicide because she was also unhappy and not herself. Maybe she hid somewhere on the island. Maybe she took off with a fisherman just to get away from that whole situation. There are all these possible solutions to the mystery, and the movie proceeds like a proper detective movie where our hero is searching for this woman, but as he searches, he kind of gets distracted, and there's this other woman that he ends up focusing on and following her instead, and the whole detective story just derails. So the genre crumbles, and out of the broken shards of that genre arises this story of a modern person, which goes far beyond the genre stereotypes, of this modern person who just gives up searching for this long lost love and finds a new woman to pursue, because love is not endless and deathless, and we are humans, and we accept change, and we adapt, and it goes from being this tropey genre story to being a story about a real person who emerged. And while I wouldn't exactly call our playthrough of The Return of the Stainless Steel Rat an Antonioni movie, I really do like the idea that we basically took charge of the storytelling to the degree that that we kind of decided that we don't even need to check who is actually the culprit. Even though the game has a solution waiting for us, we do not need to check it because we created our own, and it's the story that counts. That's what I wanted to say about that. And now to the game. I mean, what is this? It's a mashup of so many different things. It's a storytelling game, it's an exploration game, it's a tactical combat game, it's a deduction game. It's probably a game that is trying way too many things at the same time, but somehow, through sheer cheekiness, I think it gets away with it pretty well. I mean, again, remind you guys that this is a game that comes in this. It's like a magazine game, but this experience that I've just been having for the past 3 hours, or I guess 2.5 hours. I think the playthrough had taken like 2.5 hours. That experience that is so rich, so full of story, and so rewarding and transformative, really, in the way that the game somehow, I felt, empowered me to take control of the story, and especially the suspension of disbelief points, because what I noticed through playing was that the suspension of disbelief also becomes this invitation to the player to ignore rules or change rules, or if something goes against him, re-roll the die or something. There was this one point, for example, where I woke Rita up with a stiff drink of scotch. That was not something that the game allowed me to do, but that was me hacking the game, saying, okay, since I don't have like a first aid band so I can patch her up, I'll give her a drink. And then I just upped the suspension of disbelief track a little bit, and in that way took control of the game, because I did not just want to leave her there because that was missing a story beat. I wanted her to be part of a story. And it turned out that she was the key to the story. She was the one who, for a brief moment, turned this old cynical Jim diGriz, who was only here for money, into a man of emotion, a man of soul, a man of purpose. And suddenly he saw a future, and maybe it was a completely unrealistic future. I mean, he's probably 20, 30 years older than Rita. She probably doesn't want like an old, tired adventurer to spend the rest of her life with. But maybe he would have helped her start her own bar, so she could become her own boss and have her own bar. And she would allow him to sit there every day and drink his drink and smoke his cigars and tell his story. And for him, that would be a relationship. And for her, that would also be a relationship, but a different kind of relationship. And I think that's probably as far as it would have gone. But I still like the idea that we managed to ignite the spark in Jim diGriz. We managed to go beyond his cynicism and find something true and beautiful. And it was heartbreaking for me in the game that so short after we discovered Rita, she was killed. And she was killed because Jim greedily opened this crate without even checking if someone had booby-trapped it. And they had. And he got a flesh wound in the chest, but it killed her. And that just put him into this death spiral, which I think if the reader hadn't thrown away the book after we killed the villain, and just decided that she was the culprit, I think the book would probably have ended with Jim diGriz just staggering, heavily wounded, down towards the computer, and maybe there would have been some final scene where he was trying to unplug the computer and the whole computer malfunctioned and exploded the entire station, or because his hurt and his anger and his despair, his loss of purpose would need some kind of external manifestation, which I think would have just been the explosion of the entire satellite, the complete opposite of why he was sent in there, because he was sent in there to save people and to earn money for his retirement bonus, and now he's just going to obliterate everything, kill everybody, and basically just retired as space dust floating in the windless vastness of the galaxy. I think that's how the book would have ended. And whatever the truth of that matter, that is how the stream is going to end. So I am going to say thank you, everybody, for following along in this crazy old 1981 sci-fi stainless steel rat misadventure of Jim Slippery diGriz, for hanging in there with me, and for claiming the story, for rebelling against the system and taking over the story and just making up our own. Thank you. I don't know what's up next time on the stream. We're going to see. There are many, many more games that needs to be played. And yeah, there's a whole bucket list. What exactly it's going to be, we'll have to wait and find out. And until then, as always, stop winning start losing, and stay hopeless.